This podcast was produced under the authority of the Podcast Police, who may or may not have investigated the host and guests prior to broadcasting. Any unlawful statements will be investigated further and persecuted to the fullest extent of the podcast law.
You are listening to The VO Life with Troy Holden.
Hey, welcome back to the VO Life. I'm Troy Holden, your blue-collar voice of choice. Welcome. If you haven't been here before, glad to have you. There's another 120 some odd episodes you can go back and listen to that probably cover just about every topic of getting started in VO and some very interesting people that we've talked to. And don't miss those. Go back and enjoy. And I think you will. Because if they were as much fun to listen to as they were to do, then you're going to be in good hands. Hey, I mentioned last week on the fall short that I did that I was looking at some changes, and I did make some decisions as to what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it, and I hope this is good for everyone. I think it'll be okay, and if it's not, then as they used to say, Tough Titty said to Kitty, but the milk's still good. That's what we say here in the South. Anyway, sorry, I just went off on a tangent. I don't know where that came from. I'm actually recording this on my birthday. It's October 6th. Yay, Troy's 60 today. And I'm trying not to pay a lot of attention to that, but the Facebook post and everything coming and people are messaging me, and you guys are great. You just all are great in sending me stuff like that. I really appreciate it. I really, you feel loved and appreciated, and there's no better feeling. But podcast-wise, what am I going to do? As you all know, I'm on another VO podcast. That's the name of the podcast. It is up in the low 20s on episodes, and as I've said before, I enjoy that camaraderie. That's my accountability group. I also feel like I have kind of an obligation to keep this thing going, but I'm not going to do these every week. I think what I'm going to plan to do is a couple of updates. Like in the middle of the month, I'll drop an episode, and then the first of the month. So it may be, the first or the second, and then it may be around the 15th, 16th, 17th. I'm going to drop a couple, and I'm going to try to keep it focused on my business and what's going on with my business and what I'm doing, so you can continue to track and watch that as you're growing your stuff. And I'll share things I'm doing and things that haven't worked and et cetera, like I've done in the past. But I really am going to try to keep it focused on that. And then I'll continue to do the other podcast weekly with Alden and Jake, where we will try to have more people on, more interviews, more topics of discussion. And with this being early in October, let me real quickly reflect on last month. Last month was okay. It was not stellar. It was not fantastic. But when I start looking at, and I'm talking about up to this week, at all the things that I did get to do, when I look at, I participated in 3 roles in a video game called Life of Prime. I recorded Virginia Farm Bureau, Ohio University hired me for, they're installing a new president, and I got to do about a 3-minute read related to that. That was the email dinger, sorry. I did a commercial for the governor of Tennessee for his educational initiative. I did a TikTok ad for Shady Rays sunglasses, got a free pair of sunglasses. That was cool. I did 2 explainers for DForce security software. That was cool. Fun to do. And there was other stuff. There were other, smaller jobs that I had done. But those, when I look back and I think, on what I booked and what I got done, it wasn't a bad month. It just wasn't August. And we come out of those big months, with August being the biggest I'd ever had, and the good old expectation is to reproduce it again, but we don't control that. We do in some ways. If we're marketing and we're planning and we're doing the things we should be doing day after day after day, and did I do that last month to set this month up? I have to say I didn't. And that hurts me to say that, but I had a lot of personal circumstances that kept me out of my office, out of my studio a lot. There was a lot going on. There were doctor visits. The kids were moving out. There were things getting done to the house. There were, stuff going on that I had to get done outside. And you put it off and you put it off and you put it off. And then all of a sudden you got to do it because fall is here and it's going to turn winter and you can't get out there and do that stuff. And with the kids moving and stuff, there's no control of that, So there are times you have to pull back and focus on that. If you're working a regular job, what do? You take vacation days or personal days and you do that. You work for yourself, it's harder to do that because you're afraid you're not going to hit your goals and your targets because you're not grinding and sitting here doing what you should be doing. And that's the way it turns out. But on the other hand, you also have to be able to take care of those things and do that with a clear conscience, a clear heart, and not worry about it. And you worry about it the next month, maybe when it's a little slower. And then you just have to do what? You have to come back harder, stronger, more vigilant to get after it and make things better. So what else is going on? I had my first meeting with Jack at Hoss Management yesterday. He set the plan for me, set the table, what we're going to be doing, and we're getting started on that. And that will start up next week and go through the end of the year of a lot of direct marketing, hard marketing to radio people. And they may not be looking right now, but heck, just like when we are marketing to a production house or an automotive production house or whatever we're going to, it's just, you just got to do what you got to do. You got to get after it. And so I'm excited to start that because I want to see where it goes. And it's kind of a new venture. And it probably will help my other marketing because it may inspire me to do more direct reach outs with everything else. So I think all that's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. And I'll be reporting back on that right here, talking about, is that working? What kind of results am I getting? How's that going? And really, I think that'll be the premise for what I'm going to do with this podcast for a while. And it may change. And I remember listening, and I think it was Mark Scott who his podcast has been around a long time. And I remember him going through some things of where it was just like interviews all the time, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. It was just him, and then it was back to interviews again. And I think we go through those hills and valleys with a podcast because we think, well, everybody's already heard this person. I don't want to keep interviewing people that everybody else is interviewing, and this one's already, and I've already covered this topic like 4 times, but then there are other people who haven't heard it yet, and maybe there's a new perspective. And so it can get very challenging once you have a lot of episodes as to, and this, sticking to VO. But I could come on here and talk about farm life and other things and, bore you to death with that. But I'm trying to stick to the subject. So we'll make our way through. We'll see how that goes for a while, and then it may flop back to something else in 6 months, but we'll see. But I want to give that a try and see, and I really want to get people coming over to the other podcast, as many as possible, because I think hearing people bounce things off each other and different ideas and, different opinions can be fun. It's kind of like, I don't watch a lot of news type shows anymore. I used to watch more than I do, but I always liked the roundtable stuff where there were 3 to 5 people and each one could talk about whatever the subject was, and they would not argue, but you could hear the different viewpoints. It was all done in, a nice way. Nobody throwing a shoe like they did that time at, who was it they threw a shoe at? Was it Bush? It might have been President Bush. I think it was President Bush. A guy threw a shoe at him. I'll never forget that. It was Bush. Yeah, nobody's throwing shoes here. So Alden and Jake and I really enjoy it. We have a really good working relationship, and we're actually going to start recording our accountability meetings, and we think there can be bits and pieces pulled from that'll be beneficial in the podcast. That'll be interesting because we can really get in some really deep discussions in there, and we won't put stuff out about money and this and that, but it'll be more about issues we've run into or why I'm not motivated or, somebody's got to get me motivated. I'm just not doing it this week. And we all have those weeks. I've kind of had a couple of them in a row, and I got to get back on the horse next week and literally need to get on a horse here in the next couple of weeks because the weather's really nice. Yeah. Hey, we're going to make this short and sweet. This is the last of the fall shorts. I'm going to end them here. We're going to go into the middle of October at some point. We're going to talk about how the first part of October went. Keep in mind, I'm taking about 4 days off, taking a short vacation, the 22nd. I think it's the 22nd. I'm leaving on Sunday, and I'll be back home Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, whichever. And I will be somewhat disconnected. I'm, of course, going to be checking email and messages and things in the evening, but my goal is to not do that while my wife and I are spending time with family. Sure, I may have to record something. I know that. But the thing is, if I can't, I'm not going to. Or if I don't need to, I'm not going to. And if I can, I'm going to be as unplugged as possible. I think we all deserve to do that, and I wish I could do it more, but I'm not that robust with my business yet. I'm getting there week by week, day by day, hour by hour. But life swoops in every few weeks and something happens and you get off track and you got to get back on track. So I look forward to vacation. Look forward to not stressing over whether I'm going to keep doing this every week or not. It was a hard decision, but I think twice a month will be great. I just want to encourage everybody to hang in there with me and keep downloading and keep grabbing the podcast and listening and hoping that it continues to help you on your journey. I know we have been very transparent with a lot of things lately, talking about getting into VO and how hard it is and this, and some of it may sound discouraging, but all it is transparency. I don't want anybody to jump into this thinking it's easy. I don't want anybody jumping into it thinking it's a fast track to making a lot of money. And I'm using that word fast track. Can you make a lot of money? Yes, you can. There are some people that do. And I just want people to get the facts and get the straight and get the data that is out there that shows you what's truly going on. It's not what just a few people are posting in Facebook groups. It is what the entire industry as a whole is doing with all these people that are in this thing and how they're doing it part-time and how much money they're making. And I know Nava is getting ready to, or Nava, I always say it wrong, NAVA. They're getting ready, I think, to do another survey, and I really look forward to the next one because to me, every time they do one and it ties back to the last one and how it correlates, it proves the validity of them, and I think that would be fantastic that we have another one come out and that validity is proven again, because a lot of times when we talk about that average amount being $20,000 to $40,000, people are like, really? That can't be right. Yes, it can. Because if you're hammering away at this and you're doing it the right way or a certain way or whatever. I shouldn't ever say right way because there is no right way, but you just go, it's harder than it looks. I'll just leave it at that. There's enough episodes about that. Hey, thanks for joining me today and let me share this news with you. Please hang with me and it may change again. We may go back weekly. I may throw shorts in again in the spring or summer. And I want you to get the information as I get it and as I run across news in the industry and things like that. If something pops up that needs to be shared, I'll be sure we drop an extra episode and get that shared. But between the two podcasts, I think the Another VO podcast will be more up to date and it'll be relevant, and you'll enjoy hearing the opinions of all three of us. So with that, I am going to bid you adieu. I will see you one more time before I take off on my vacation, and we'll talk about how October's been so far, which will be in about 2 weeks from today. Today's the 6th, so the weekend of the 20th before I leave, we'll drop that and we'll say, hey, how's this month been so far, and what's going on, and do you have your radio stuff going yet? How's that going? Your imaging stuff. And we'll see. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it. I'm ready to get after it. Have a great one. We'll see you next time right here on The VO Life.
You've been listening to The VO Life with Troy Holden. Check back for more episodes each week and catch up on what you've missed also. This is for you, those just living that VO life. Thanks for listening, and join us again.